For reaction, I am joined by Steve Shepard, chief polling analyst for Politico, and Leslie Sanchez, CBSN political contributor and Republican strategist. So, Leslie, I just want to start off with you and get a sense of how important this is for Rubio. Because if you look at all the headlines in the newspapers today, it's sort of make or break, according to all of the pundits. Is that how you view the situation for him right now?
Absolutely. You know, they say it's over when the fat lady sings, and there are too many people that are writing his obituary already. Unfortunately, that is a really detrimental thing for a candidate going into final days, trying to create this momentum. Tonight, he has to have a dynamic debate and really knock it out of the park. But is it going to be too late? That's really the challenge. I think there's been so much undermining of Senator Rubio's campaign within the establishment once it was decided to put momentum behind Senator Ted Cruz. It's made it extremely difficult to raise money, garner support, get some of the former Bush allies, Jeb Bush allies in the state to come on board so that he could rally and win his state. And you're seeing all of it converge today and right now.
You know, Leslie mentioned just the need to be dynamic tonight, Steve, and I'm curious, when you think about that, what does that exactly mean? Because we've seen very different strategies from Rubio as we've watched all of these primaries progress.
Yeah, you don't know which Marco Rubio is going to show up to some degree, and I think that has hurt him in the most recent debates and the most recent primaries. He has been all of a sudden turned it on after South Carolina. Once Jeb Bush was out of the way, he knew he had to take aim at Donald Trump leading into Super Tuesday. And he has, often getting down into the gutter with Donald Trump. And I think that voters have seen that has hurt Rubio's impression with them. It seems a little inauthentic when he spent most of the campaign saying, well, look, I like Donald Trump, but I don't think he's the right choice. To Donald Trump is completely unacceptable, and I'm going to, take pot shots at him every chance I can. It's very interesting to see which Marco Rubio is going to show up tonight. The one thing I will say is that winning Florida for Marco Rubio is necessary for him to stay in the race. But even with winning Florida, there's really no path for Marco Rubio to be the nominee before we get to a convention. The only thing that he can do in the next week is win Florida, show that he's still a credible establishment candidate, try to deny Donald Trump the nomination in the upcoming primaries and caucuses, and hope that he can go to Cleveland in a convention and become the unanimous establishment alternative and win there. Unfortunately, if he wins Florida, though, all of that strategy is out the window and he'll probably have to leave the race.
He raises a really great point, which is where in most cases people think, oh, I'm really just trying to win the nomination. Right now, there's so much among conversation among establishment leadership of the establishment that's saying, how do we deny Donald Trump the nomination? So it has really gotten very terse, obviously very political and very strategic. Who do you put your money behind?
Well, look at those numbers. You're seeing them on the screen just like I am. I mean, these are obviously predictors. We don't have final numbers yet. Right. When you look at those numbers, do you think they're realistic? Because you guys both keep using the word win, sure. And it is about momentum. Are these numbers, do you think, indicative of what we're going to see?
I think, unfortunately for Marco Rubio, they likely are. It's really hard to make that many points up in that short period of time, unless, of course, you're Bernie Sanders in Michigan, and then that's a whole other story. But no, realistically, you don't tend to make up more than about 5 points in that period of time. It's hard to move an electorate that much. Traditionally, Marco Rubio would get late deciders, people that really were on the fence, but this is his home state. And the one thing I would contend, if you cannot win your home state, you're not ready to be the nominee in a general election. You have to do that.
You know, it is his home state, but Steve, as I'm sure you know, there's a lot of money being spent right now in the state trying to stop some of that momentum. We showed one of those ads leading into this discussion. What do you make of all of that money? And of course, you know this by now, Ted Cruz just got the first endorsement by a senator, Mike Lee of Utah. The first time we're seeing a senator say, I'm getting behind someone, I'm all in on this guy.
Right, and you mentioned how winning is about momentum, but this is the first time that winning is actually about raw math. Florida and Ohio are the first two states that will award all of the delegates to the winner of the race. Regardless, that candidate could win by one vote, and they would get all 99 delegates from Florida, all 66 delegates from Ohio. So it is a basic math problem if you need to stop Donald Trump, and that's why Florida, 99 delegates, all to the winner, has become ground zero for this Stop Trump effort. You're seeing millions and millions of dollars on the airwaves. They would love to boost Marco Rubio because he's the most credible. He's in second place according to all the polls there, just as they'd love to boost John Kasich in Ohio. It is all about math at this point in Florida and Ohio.
It's all about math, but there's also some questions about favorability. And I think that is the enigma to so many voters. You look at a recent poll from NBC Wall Street Journal, and it shows that Trump has a negative 39 favorability rating. So how do you have one poll that shows you so unlikable, and yet you have registered voters saying this is my man?
Sure. Well, let's look at the base of support that Donald Trump gets is these angry voters. Historically, going back to when people started voting, you saw the trend coming in last summer, but really they're like, if you're angry, you're upset with the government, and you want to kind of rip that establishment effort up and try something new, Donald Trump is your candidate. And the question was, can he get, we know he has a floor like in the low 30s, but can he get above 40%? Can he start building a coalition of the Republican Party? And there's so much consternation within the party and tension right now that it's becoming increasingly difficult to do. You're starting to see some fall in line, but more so, people are putting their money behind Senator Ted Cruz. They want to make it a two-man race, and unfortunately, it's coming right before Florida. So all the conversations between money and grassroots folks are, if you want to split this up, deny Donald Trump a nomination, get behind Marco Rubio. He makes the most sense. He's the home state senator, but still, Senator Ted Cruz opens 15 offices. They're splitting their resources, their money, and their vote. And again, it becomes a dysfunctional process if you want to try to deny one candidate a win.
If you were advising Rubio right now, would you tell him, if this is not successful, it's time to maybe bow out?
I think everybody is telling him that. I think you don't have to be a big political operative to know that. It comes down to momentum and money, right? So if again, can't win your home state, it's not his time. It's not that he may not be the right candidate. It just may not be the right time. And there's so much fluidity. I don't think any one candidate is done. I do believe unless Donald Trump wins full out Florida and Ohio, you're looking at a different conversation in the summer.
Steve, what do you think is going to happen tonight?
Well, I'm interested to see which Marco Rubio shows up. You look, Ted Cruz has done a good job of sort of staying out of the Rubio-Trump spat and then chiming in, trying to seem above it, but also take some shots at Donald Trump. He's been really effective. He's a really good debater. John Kasich is going to be playing for voters, even though the debate is in Miami. John Kasich is going to be playing for voters in Ohio, where he absolutely needs to win to remain in this race. Look, the four candidates, it's the same four candidates who were there last week. At some point, I think some of the candidates may shift strategy. Marco Rubio would be the prime example of that. That's at least what I'm watching for.